So, let's get started. Hi, my name is Michael Sauter. I'm one of the two founders of Brainbirds. We are a training company. Actually, we were consultants in the past, working for large digital agencies, and then we moved on and said we don't want to be consultants anymore, not working for others, doing stuff for them, and they not knowing how we do it and what we do, but teaching others the methods of the digital world. And we started this 3.5 years ago, and now we are delivering some 400 events a year with 5,000 to 6,000 people. Our clients are mainly large corporates like Allianz, ProSieben, Mediasaturn, Axel Springer, and others who all want to deal with Agile in their overall organization. It's not just IT, but it's business, marketing, and HR. All that started with design thinking. However, we now have a flow of agile methods like design thinking, business model innovation, lean startup, Scrum, but also coming from the bottom of the organization, kind of mix of methods, and coming off the top of the organization like digital leadership. So how can organizations these days implement all these new methods? How do they integrate the different methods? And how do they build their teams? How do they lead their teams? And how can they drive innovation? And I have some books here that you might know. For example, the meditation program from Google, who is trying out a lot new stuff, like Alex Osterwalder, Business Model Generation, like Eric Ries, Lean Startup, all the stuff you might know, but is not the topic of today. Today our topic is design thinking. Who has some experience in design thinking? Tried something out or, okay, cool, nice. What we'll try to do is almost impossible, 45 minutes to give an overview and to do it in a workshop-like setting. So typically we have a day or 2 days. Now we have 45 minutes, so at least we'll give it a try. First of all, I'll start with an overview what design thinking is, and I normally use an example. If I have a headache, if I say I have a headache, what is your typical response? I have a headache. Do you need a pill? Take your aspirin. What's the problem with the aspirin? The headache is a problem. And what we normally do is we jump immediately into solutions. And this is the aspirin. I have a headache, take an aspirin. And this is what we learn in school since we are 5 years old. There's a problem, there's one solution, and this is where we get the points for. There's a problem, there's one solution, and this is where we get the points for. This is what we are taught since we are 5 years old. But the world now is different. So going from the headache to the solution, what could be an even better approach? What could you do instead? Design thinking is going a step even further. Design thinking would not ask, why do you have a headache? What kind of headache? When did it start? Design thinking would jump back one step and would ask, who else in the room has a headache? Because you understand, before we dig into my problem, we need to find out if there's a specific group who has a problem. For example, us three, because we were drinking at the bar yesterday until 5 o'clock. Or you two, because you went here by train and there was this ugly guy always going like this. So who else has a headache? This is what design thinking does, starting from the user, understanding who your user is. So coming from the user, running through the problem, creating solutions. And design thinking is doing this in a quite organized way in terms of opening up 2 rooms. One is the problem room, or problem space in English, and one is the solution space. And while we open up the rectangle, it means that we are creative. We are integrating different views from different colleagues, multidisciplinary teams. We are asking our client. We are asking experts. So when the rectangle opens up, it's creativity, and when it closes down, it's decision making. It's taking a decision to move forward. And this is what design thinking is doing. First of all, understanding our user and their requirements and problems. And once we have understood, opening up the solution space to develop the right solutions. And design thinking is doing this in 6 steps. It's 3 up front here, and 3 more down here. The first one is understand. We want to understand what the topic is. Observe, we want to look at a user, understand how they deal with a machine, with a screen, with other people, observe, and then point of view, taking a stand. So understanding, observing, talking with people and experts, and then taking a stand, understanding what the real problem is that we want to solve. And once we have understood, this can serve as a springboard into solution development. And then the next 3 steps kick in. First one is ideate, create ideas, solutions, prototype, and test. So it's understand, observe, point of view, understanding your customer, your client, your stakeholder, understanding their requirements and problems, and then once you have understood, jumping into the solution space, ideate, prototype, and test. And this is it basically. Developed 30 years ago in Silicon Valley. Stanford University is a big fan of design thinking. Hasso Plattner, one of the SAP founders, he has launched D-School in Stanford and another D-School here in Potsdam. And this is what they're dealing with. Translating customer understanding and requirements into solutions. And all this while you integrate your user. So asking your user, observing your user, and having the option to jump back. And this is the agility in design thinking, jump back if you find out you missed something. Yeah? Jumping back and forth. 2 things are quite important. One is this here, what you want to find out with user interviews? It's the user problem fit. You want to understand if your users have the problem, so you need to integrate them. Or if you're a startup, you might want to understand if your problem has a user base that is large enough, so in terms of market size. So this here is user problem fit. And down here, what you want to find out, integrating users, is problem solution fit. You want to find out if your solution fits the needs and the requirements of your users, of your customers, of your clients. And it doesn't matter if it's an external product facing the market or an internal solution facing your employees. Understood? So, user problem fit and problem solution fit. For startups, both critical, because if you don't have one of them, it might be difficult to be successful in the market. If there's no problem, or the users you're targeting don't understand the problem that you want to solve, it might be difficult, but even if your solution doesn't fit the problem, it might also be difficult. So in the end, you need to convince people on both sides. So, this is design thinking. Design thinking has 3, let's say, layers. First of all, it's a kind of customer philosophy, yeah? Customer centricity, corporate philosophy. You can position it that you say, everything we do, we start from the user, yeah? Kind of corporate philosophy, customer centricity. We start with the user. Second layer is design thinking as a process, 6 steps, yeah? Understand, observe, point of view, ideate, prototype, test. And third, but last but not least, it's a toolbox. Because design thinking has a lot of tools, and there's one book where you can see all the 6 phases, and then there's 100 tools like prototyping, brainwriting, user research, and so on and so on. So a lot of tools in the toolbox. So if you even don't think it's a corporate philosophy and you don't want to implement it as a process, you can pick tools from the toolbox. So design thinking has these 3 areas where you can implement if you want. Okay, so far? Good. Moving to the exercise. We'd like to do an exercise, takes us about 25-30 minutes. It's a small run through not the full cycle, but through these 3 topics, user, problem, solution, and then a small prototyping thing. Each step will only take 5 minutes, so it will feel like a rush, but it's more that you have an understanding of how this could feel like and how the real process would look like. And we want to end with a short, let's say, summary and also reflection. What you need to do is find yourself in a group of, let's say, 4 to 5 people and pick one of the walls over there. So mix with people that you don't know, 4 to 5 people, take a whiteboard, and once you're done, we get started. Before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about Post-its. We have this special pen, the Stabilo 68, we always say is the pen of the digital world, yeah, which sounds a bit odd, but you will understand why I tell you. This is about how about 90% of the companies are working. Yeah, they use what they have and they don't think about the tools and the materials they have. So once you get started and you use the right methods, it could look like this, and it might make a difference. And you could even do it a bit better, not just using the right tool, but also using the right tool in the right way. It's more emotional. Some people might look into this, some others are a bit more creative. There's another thing. Think visual is quite important because when you visualize stuff, you need to find agreement in a group. So 5 people discussing a screen, for example, of an interface, everybody has their idea how the screen might look like. Once you need to visualize it, prototype it, paint it, you need to agree on something. So when the rectangle opens up, it's time for different ideas, creativity. When it goes slim again, when it closes, it's time for decisions, for visualization, for a common goal, and then move on. Our topic for today, how can we improve the kitchen experience? So everything that happens in your kitchen at home, like cooking, eating, storing stuff, just collect users in the kitchen. It's about opening up the rectangle, open it up. Who is the users in the kitchen? Get started, 5 minutes. Think as diverse as possible, Not just age, you could think about sex, you could think about people who like technology, who don't like technology, who like to cook, who don't want to cook, Think in different dimensions, just brainstorm. Okay, guys. One important thing I did not mention is the clock that you might know from your Scrum projects. Time boxing is good. Founders of IDEO, which is an innovation agency, and they mainly developed design thinking. They always say it's a messy process. All that stuff that we could do this for ages now. Another hour, think about users and whatever. And they say it's a messy process, and therefore we need to time box it. Just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, what you think is required, but time box everything just to give it the time that is required. So what would be the next step now? Now we have collected a lot of groups. What would be the next step? Pardon? Cluster, Typically, the rectangular opened up now. We have a lot of stuff. Typically, we would now cluster, and then we would probably prioritize the 2 or 3 most important that we want to dig deeper into. What we will do for the exercise is just select one group. So 1 minute for you to select one group that you want to dig deeper into. No clustering, just pick one as you want. And when you have done this, after a minute, let's say, move on and collect any needs or problems they might have in their kitchen. Needs and problems that they have. Needs is more the positive side of their requirements. Problems is more the negative side. So, get finished? Okay, so what have we done? We now collected needs and problems. First time might feel a bit difficult because you end up in discussions, discussing stuff back and forth. There's some rules over there in the middle row which says encourage wild ideas, go for quantity. This is true for that step. Collecting the requirements, just let it flow. Just collect stuff. It's not about that everybody needs to accept that what stands there is the truth. It's just about you are opening up the space. And there might be stuff where everybody agrees, and there might be stuff where only one person agrees. But it's important that you build up that room, because there's another rule, second row on the right side, building on the ideas of others. So if you don't speak out loud, if you don't write it down, if you don't visualize, someone else might not have an idea to build upon. So your crazy idea that you have not mentioned could lead to something because someone else has an even better idea and can build on that. So you need to let it flow and not just discuss everything. And therefore, there's another rule down there on the third row to the right, defer judgment. Because it's quite often that when we have an idea, someone else comes and, oh, this is already existing, we can't fund it, it's technologically not implementable, the rules stand against it. So it's always easy to stop something. Just let it flow. It's opening up stuff. You can throw away later. It's important that you let it flow. And this is even more important in the next step. What would be the next step? What have we done now? We've thought about the user. We have thought about their requirements, their needs and problems. What is the next step? Ideation, thinking about solutions. So we are moving on, thinking about the solution. And again, we would now cluster, then prioritize the most important area. What we do for the exercise, that we just pick one need or problem that you want to focus on for the ideation, and then we think into solutions. Until now, we thought in needs and problems. Now you switch your head, and now you can think in solutions. Yeah, and your solutions should be very specific. So if you write something down on the Post-it, it should be specific in terms of you can implement it, you can prototype it, you can build it. Yeah, should be very specific. Nothing like better space. Yeah, what is better space? Yeah, or better communication. This is not a solution. This is an idea that is very broad. It should be as specific as possible. And again, don't discuss. It's just the flow. Go for quantity. Yeah, encourage wild ideas. When Red Bull, when they developed the first Formula One car, they only gave 2 prerequisites to the team. One was, don't follow any physical regulations, also keine physischen Gesetze berücksichtigen. And the second one was, don't follow the Formula One regulations, also auch kein Reglement der FIA berücksichtigen. These were the only 2 prerequisites for the team when it came to ideation. And then they built a lot of crazy ideas, and once they were finished, they pulled the ones that were the most interesting, and they built upon, and they built a car that would drive and would be approved by the Formula One Association. So, just let it flow, think in solutions the next 5 minutes, pick one problem or one need that you want to fulfill, doesn't matter, it's just an exercise, and then think into solutions. 5 minutes, okay? Get finished. One important thing for ideation, typically we do different kind of brainstorming techniques. Like we start with silent brainstorming because everybody needs to think into something. Then we do a loud brainstorming. Then we do a reverse brainstorming where we reverse the question. Yeah? If we say, okay, how can we improve the kitchen experience? We would say, how can we decrease? No? How can we make it bad, let's say. So, and then we turn it around again and we build on that negative stuff. And what we also do is that we sometimes use role models, that we try to look at it from a different perspective. Like, for example, James Bond, yeah, rule breaking, he can do anything. There's no limitations. Heidi Klum, yeah, in terms of looking for marketing and PR solutions, giving it a stage, having a kind of incentive, a competition. I'll skip Helmut Schmidt. The Dalai Lama, yeah, looking for a sustainable, for a mindful solution, pragmatic stuff, yeah. Google, for example, who would solve something with data or with technology. How would Apple do it, yeah? Simplicity, usability, design, black and white, whatever. IKEA, modular approach, yeah. Toolkits, give it a nice, sympathetic name. So we did the ideation. What is the next step? Prototyping. Picking one solution, turning around the whiteboards, and with the pens, sketching the solution, how a prototype might look like.
So our peer group are the technique fans, male, single, has got no time, works a lot, likes the gadget, the widgets, everything. He wants to have it quick and he wants to have fun with it. And his main problem is he doesn't want any paper. He doesn't want to read anything on paper, have paper everywhere. He wants it all digital. So what we decided, we built the augmented reality kitchen cube. So everything is integrated in it. You've got the cube, who's got the technical devices, it's got the WLAN, so it's connected to the internet, you've got a browser, you've got Bluetooth, where you have the fridge, the oven, the Abzugshaube, whatever the word is. You've got music, light, table, dishwasher, everything is connected to it. And up here, he's got the augmented reality. So it helps him either with the recipes, with all the fresh stuff, videos, and helps him do it as he goes along.
Yeah, so we have somebody who really doesn't want to cook, actually. And our problem was he doesn't have the knowledge. The solution is some VR goggles, combined with virtual cooking classes and a holographic person that shows how to cook. So basically we have here the person with the glasses, and in these glasses he sees with virtual reality, with augmented reality, what he is supposed to do in the moment.
So we also target toddlers, kids in the kitchen. So really toddlers 0 to 3 years. The problem is they see mom and dad doing all the great stuff in the kitchen, which is pretty dangerous. They are not allowed to do it, but really want to touch everything that's hot, dangerous, sharp. And this is why we are building the Watchtower, which is a multifunctional mobile tower where the kid can climb up in a elevated position and give directions to parents, actually have controls to the oven, and also have their little private storage room at the bottom, so they feel really in control in the kitchen.
Okay, guys, take a seat. What you might have seen is that this creates a lot of creativity and innovation space, because there's a lot of users, there's a lot of problems and needs you could focus on, and then there's a lot of solutions created. There's a book from Google. Google Sprint doesn't have to do with the Scrum sprints. It's a method with which Google develops startups. And actually what they do is they do the whole process in 5 days. They do the process in 5 days, and it's like first day, understanding of the user and their requirements. Second day, developing solutions. Third day, deciding on one solution. Fourth day, building a prototype. Fifth day, testing it. So in the end, it depends how long you take. It could be a day, it could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a year. It's your decision. Therefore, it's important that you time box, and you make sure that you use time efficiently. Okay? Thanks a lot. Have a good time and see you.